Hi and welcome to the Bats in Churches e-learning program for cleaning in churches. This course will give you an overview of cleaning techniques that will help you to look after your church and clean in a way that will negatively impact items of heritage significance. Churches are home to artifacts that rival anything found in national museums and stately homes, from 15th century painted screens through crafted wooden pews to monumentally huge sculpted tombs. Churches and the artifacts within are unique and special, but they're also vulnerable. We will discuss a general approach to cleaning in churches, share a key advice if you're cleaning when a church has bats, and look at cleaning regimes for different materials. I hope by the end of the course, you will be better equipped to make the right choices for your church and feel that you're making a difference. Further information, general cleaning guidelines and additional resources can be found in our companion booklet, Cleaning Guidelines for Churches with Bats. Taking steps to prevent damage is by far the most effective way to maintain your church and its contents. Poor conditions can cause problems in the building that will have an effect on historic artifacts. Artworks and artifacts often show the first signs that there's something inherently wrong with the building, such as rusting areas, flaking paint, and cracking, for example. To identify any potential issues before damage gets too severe, we need to monitor the building and any artifacts, looking out for moisture, insect frass, and cracking, amongst other things. Keeping a log, taking regular photographs, allocating cleaning roles, and having a rota of responsibilities will help you monitoring the space and the objects. You can find an object condition and care template in the companion cleaning guidelines document. External factors that contribute to the degradation of artifacts include pest, movement and accidental damage, mold and droppings from bats and birds. If an item is at risk of being damaged in a certain area of the church and can be moved, try moving it to a safer area. If not, consider covering it. Organize the spaces and items so there are no piles of paper or textiles in areas with little ventilation, as this will encourage pests and damp. Improving appearances can help a place look attended and well cared for, which may deter some vandalism. Something that is unkept and almost abandoned is more likely to attract negative attention. If your church has bats in residence, it's essential that any droppings and urine are cleaned immediately upon discovery, as part of your daily cleaning routine. Even though objects might seem robust, we still need to treat them with a lot of care. There's a difference between conservation cleaning and home cleaning. Unsuitable cleaning methods can damage and shorten the life of the items we are trying to save. We must achieve a balance between pristine cleanliness and preserving integrity. The materials used in the construction of modern houses, hospitals, offices, and even the more modern kitchen or toilets installed at churches are robust enough to avoid damage, as we vacuum, scrub stains, and clean using chemical sprays, floor cleaners, and bleach. Historic floors, walls, seats, and artifacts within churches are more delicate, so it makes sense that these cleaning materials are not always appropriate for use. A clean, polished, and immaculate finish on aged surfaces could ruin their historic appearance. The need to protect the structures, interiors, and artifacts should be foremost in your mind before you start to clean. Consult your church warden or the statement of significance before the start of your cleaning to avoid damaging important historical items. And if in doubt, please refrain from cleaning. If your church has bats present, it's important to recognize bat spoil and understand the impact that it can have when not immediately cleaned. Cleanup after bats should focus on removing urine and droppings. However, stains or scarring often require more intervention and should only be carried out by under the instruction of a conservator. All UK bats feed on insects, and the droppings have made up the insect exoskeletons. Bat droppings can sometimes be mistaken for mouse droppings, but unlike mouse droppings, they do not contain any moisture. They crumble easily and look slightly sparkly when crumbled. Roll a dropping into a piece of tissue between your finger and thumb. If it crumbles under only a little pressure, it's a bat dropping. Sometimes dropped and processed by insects turn into thrush, which has a more deconstructed look into it. Just look for any solid whole droppings nearby. Urine is more difficult to see, but fresh droplets appear darker in colour. As the moisture evaporates, the urine drops turn lighter, leave a bloom of salts. You may be able to smell it. The priority is to immediately absorb as much of the liquid as possible, using an absorbent cloth or heavy-duty paper towel. Bats tend to excrete urine and drop-ins as they leave and enter both buildings and roost inside buildings. Deposits can be concentrated around these locations. However, depending on the flight patterns, bats may excrete all over and throughout the building. It is important to regularly dust and vacuum up urine, salts and drop-ins. The frequency depends on the amount of deposits seen. Nitrile gloves are essential and masks are recommended when cleaning drop-ins and dust. Be sure to wash your hands after completing any cleaning. Generally speaking, bat drop-ins and urine do not pose a threat to human health, but on extremely rare occasions there are risks from allergic reactions. For example, dust inhalation in cleaning up very large quantities of drop-ins or gastrointestinal infection from consumption of drop-ins. These risks can all be avoided by following the simple precautions outlined in this film and by maintaining basic standards of hygiene. The only known disease found in UK bats that can be passed from bats to human is rabies, which has only been found in a small number of bats in the UK. It's transmitted by a bite or scratch from an infected bat. There's no risk for you whatsoever if you do not approach or handle a bat. If you find a live bat while cleaning, do not touch it. Leave the bat in place and visit the Bat Conservation Trust website for advice and information on what to do if you find a bat that is grounded, possibly injured or sick. Before any cleaning is carried out, it's important to examine the surface of the item to identify any historical painting, decoration or areas of damage. Do consult with a professional if there's any of these. Less is more, so always start with a dry cleaning. We recommend to never use any commercial cleaners as the chemicals they contain can damage surfaces. To dry clean, use lint-free cloths on objects with smooth surfaces. Do not press hard, as dust could scratch the surface. For more intricate objects, use brushes with a light movement to lift off the dust. Vacuums can also be used and should be set to the lowest possible setting. A simple muslin cloth or pop sock could be tied to the end of the nozzle to avoid soaking up any loose pieces of an object, and the nozzle should never touch the surface. For cleaning heavily dusty surface, a cosmetic sponge can be very gently dabbed over the object. However, these act as a rubber, so don't use it with any surface with decorations. Consult a booklet or a conservator for more detailed information. To reach high areas rather than use a ladder, we suggest using a long extendable pole with a brush that allows us to reach higher corners. Remember to always be aware of your surroundings. Make sure you finish the work by vacuuming the surrounding areas where you have been cleaning. Keeping a cleaning schedule and maintenance log will help you track what is being cleaned and when, avoiding overcleaning and unnecessary work. This list of tasks should include clearing gutters, damp pipes and drains, which will help alleviate damp issues. You can find templates for a cleaning log, a calendar in the accompanying cleaning guidelines for churches with bats booklet or download it from our website. Removing dirt from the surface of historic items limits the chances of staining, corroding, deteriorating and attracting pests in the future. Before we attempt to clean something, we need to stop and think about the object itself. Is it safe to clean? Is it structurally stable? Are there any areas of weakness or any delicate surface? If there are painted areas, is there flaking paint? If any historic paint is found, it must not be cleaned. If damage is found, such as broken or missing parts, carefully store the attached parts in a label bag or box and discuss it with your church warden or ask your DAC for advice. It may be necessary to consult a qualified conservator. An absolute priority before starting any cleaning is your own safety. A precautionary approach should be taken to protect ourselves at all times. Some historic artifacts and paints could have toxic materials in their composition, like asbestos or lead. There is also the possibility they have been treated with insecticides in the past, that could be harmful to us now. Mold can be found on any object. Although it grows in organic materials like leather, paper and textiles, it can also grow in the layers of dust and dirt on top of inorganic materials such as metal and glass. The use of personal protective equipment is recommended when cleaning historic interiors. Nitrile gloves and an FPP2 or FPP3 face mask makes up the basic PPE. The gloves are powdered and will not leave residue, while at the same time giving us total control and feel of what we are cleaning. They are especially important when cleaning metal items as they prevent the oils from our hands passing into the object and ending up with fingerprints all over a newly cleaned object. Avoid latex gloves, and latex can trigger allergies and is damaging to silver materials. White cotton gloves are also not recommended as they reduce the feeling sensation and can get caught in splinters or delicate surfaces. A properly fit face mask protects the wearer from airborne dust, mold and other volatile agents. Here we will discuss a selection of different items that make up an excellent clean kit for your church. Our first option will always be a dry clean, and we generally don't use liquids or sprays as they could damage the surface of objects. Vacuum cleaners are useful for the removal of dust and debris. We recommend a vacuum with a HEPA filter and adjustable suction power. The HEPA filter will trap small particles and not release them back into the air, which is vital in areas with mold or dense dust. The lowest power setting will allow us to remove dust and debris without damaging delicate items. A muslin cloth or pop sock must be used at the end of the nozzle to prevent sucking up any loose pieces. Lean-free cloths are perfect with objects with smooth surfaces. Fold your cloth into the size of your hand and ensure none of the edges are protruding. When dusting, be careful not to press hard as the dust can scratch the surface. With wooden items, always wipe in the direction of the grain. You can refold your cloth between items and surfaces and be sure they're always dusting with a clean area. On more delicate and intricate objects, we use a variety of different size brushes with cover ferrules. The more delicate the object being cleaned, the softer the brush has to be. Brushes should be used with light movements to gently lift the dust. We normally combine brushing with vacuum on the lowest suction level to suck up the dust. Hold the nozzle just above the area you're brushing. For dustier surfaces, a cosmetic sponge can be very gently dabbed over the object. These are the same cosmetic sponges that are normally used to apply makeup, so they're easy to obtain and normally quite cheap. An alternative will be a smoke sponge that you can get from specialty stores. These are made from vulcanized rubber, so it can trigger allergies. They were designed to clean up the following fire damage and have numerous uses, particularly for cleaning stone or hard surfaces. Just remember to use them gently. There's no need to press down as they could damage the object. These swabs are really useful to clean in small areas, especially when damp with deionized water. Roll over the object being cleaned and do not drag. Another great clean covers table is an extendable long pole with a brush or duster to help you reach higher and further. Be aware of your surroundings when using the long pole, as you might be standing too close to a colleague or an object. Brush and pan or a stiff garden brush used to brush bad waste. To add another level of protection, sometimes objects can be treated with a wax. For wood, we recommend natural waxes such as Harolds, and for other materials, including metals, a thin coat of Renaissance wax can be used to protect the object. There are areas of objects within every church that may need to be wet cleaned. For example, surface dirt on tile floors can be removed with minimal quantities of warm water and a conservation-grade detergent or equivalent, or a wooden surface, a pew for example, would need to be wiped with a dampened cloth and detergent prior to waxing. Generally, when wet cleaning, use only the smallest quantity of a specialist detergent. Use a well-round-out damp cloth and mops rather than wet. Bear in mind that the water is applied to an unsuitable finish. It can result in damage, including white blooming marks, so if unsure, seek expert advice. The ionized water is highly purified water that contains no dissolved minerals or other impurities. When used for cleaning, the neutral pH and purity significantly reduce the risk of damage compared to tap water. Both sensitive and shower care are brands which have been tested and approved by conservators as alternatives to conservation detergents. Use only the smallest possible quantity. A drop or two in a litre of water is enough. Whenever using a damp cloth, have a dry one in hand for removing any excess liquid and remaining moisture. When using a mop, always be sure the mop head is well wrung out and only just damp. Ideally, you will have a second dry mop to remove any remaining moisture from mop surfaces. A quality steam mop can further reduce the amount of water needed for effective cleaning on certain tile floors. These are some common and household cleaning agents that are particularly suitable for use on historic artifacts and surfaces. Wood polish. Avoid commercial products that contain acrylics or silicates. Metal polish. Be cautious of commercial polishers as they contain hard particles which can scratch the softer alloys of copper. They can also contain ammonia that could dissolve copper. Detergents. Avoid detergents with dyes, bleach or parabens. Natural oils, for example nut oils, linseed oil or olive oil, avoid them as they can get rancid and mouldy and lead to infestation or blackening of tiles. Avoid traditional techniques and old wives' cleaning tips, for example newspaper and vinegar for windows. Simply put, question everything, and if you don't know what's in it, don't use it. Further information, general cleaning guidelines and additional resources can be found in our companion booklet, Cleaning Guidelines for Churches with Bats.